Now I want to talk about a couple of tricks pertaining to sidechain compression, sidechaining. You've heard this term a million times, I'm sure, and if you haven't, you will. In any case, sidechain is an alternate input into a compressor. Usually a compressor um, opens and closes based on whatever program material it's affecting. So what that means is, if you put a kick drum through a compressor, the kick drum sound itself going over the compressor threshold is what causes the compressor to squeeze the sound. Now, when you bring a different signal into the side chain, you start making the compressor squeeze the sound independent of the program material going through it. So what that means in very simple terms is that you can squeeze certain sounds based on the activity of other sounds. And this is really common in electronic music. So here, for instance, a good place to hear this would be in the beginning of our tune. You hear how that's pulsating? When I turn the compressor off, and then when I turn it on. And basically what I'm doing is taking an impulse every quarter note and squeezing this sound. And you hear this all the time. It's just a seminal sound in electronic music. Now, a trick to making this happen really clean is that some people think that you just take whatever the kick drum is and send that to the sidechain input of a compressor. But a lot of producers and myself actually like to take a sound that's a lot quicker and tighter, like this. And we don't actually use that sound in the mix. We only use this as a sidechain trigger. So I've got it muted, but on my downsweep compressor here, I have that track selected as the sidechain input. So that's a thing that you can do. It's also very common to do that on the lead sound. So, another really common thing to do is to take reverbs, and instead of just putting reverb right as an insert on a track to create a sense of space, you send it to an auxiliary send. So, for instance, I've got this, I call it the chomp bass, here in the drop of the song. You hear how it's kind of pulsating, and after I hit stop, the reverb tails kind of came up. Well, that's because what I'm doing is I'm sending some of this signal to a reverb here on an aux return, and then I'm compressing the reverb using that sidechain trigger. So that just makes the whole mix kind of breathe. If you want a more pronounced example of it, I'll bring the reverb level up a bit. So in context, you can hear how that makes the whole thing pump. Cool. And then one other place you could use sidechaining if you'd like is to, take that sub bass that we built that mirrors the kick drum, Here, copy a sidechain compressor from a different track right onto here. Audio from sidechain trigger. Basically, that just squishes the bass a little bit to make even more room for the kick drum. So get creative with sidechaining. You can do a lot of fun stuff with it. It's not just about putting a compressor on a track or a bus and then bringing a kick drum into the sidechain input. You can do all sorts of interesting stuff to kind of make hyper real sounds that are one of the coolest parts about EDM. It's larger than life. It's impossibly big. So have fun, and I hope you learned at least something new.